Hello, everyone. Thank you for the applause. I hope you had a good lunch. And I think everyone is happy to be here in Thailand, and so am I. I came to Thailand a couple of times already before, and it was always a great experience to be here. So I also like to thank the organizing committee for having me here today. Last year, I had a meeting with Mr. Pamunchai, and he told me about his dream to organize this convention. And then there's a growing community of Indian ringneck lovers here in Thailand, and I'm very happy about that. So when on our last evening after dinner, we had a meeting with some ringneck breeders, and then they heard my story and they said, "Can you please share this with us?" So that's why I'm here today. And we're gonna discuss today or talk about what we are doing, our goals when we started our breeding farm, the challenges that we had to experience. I will show you our aviaries, our birds, and I will also give you an insight how we manage the 4 seasons in Korea. So I was already introduced. I'm Guy Kusters. Originally, I'm from Belgium, but I'm living in Korea now for 10 years. And 6 years ago, I started with the Belko Bird Breeding Center. Belko is an abbreviation, of course, from Belgium and Korea, which is easily to understand for Koreans. When I talk to people about pets, I'm always curious why people love a certain pet. Whether it's a dog, a cat, a hamster, or a bird, doesn't matter. I'm always curious what brings them to a certain species. So in my case, in the early 70s, I think the first picture is 55 years ago, I had a kind of disorder. And I couldn't pay attention, I couldn't focus, I was hyperkinetic. And in the 80s, they gave a name to the disorder, and this is called ADHD. So probably when there was medicine, probably I would have got medicine to control my disorder, but instead my mother brought me to a farm. And we had many family members who were running a farm. So I actually grew up with horses, with cows, with pigs. And among my family members, there were a lot of pigeon fanciers. So as you see, I did since I'm young, I did all kind of agricultural activities. And then my mother also started to realize that playing with pets had a positive effect on me. I was much quiet than before. So I also watched in the 80s, we had a very popular TV series on the BBC, All Creatures, Great and Small. And I think there's a person who's already smiling, he knows that. So in that time, I had a dream to become a vet. And then this was my first pet bird. And how did I get the pet bird? Simply because in Belgium, we are famous for cartoons. And in 1955, there was a cartoonist in Belgium who came up with this cartoon. It's called Jommeke or Jommeke. And until today, there are more than 350 albums where the main character in the album is a parrot. So I was actually very interested in parrots. I will skip a part of my life. In 2014, I moved to Korea. And before you're going to ask me, why do you go to Korea? Because most people who immigrate, they go to warm countries to relax. Most Europeans, they go to Spain or to the Philippines or Thailand. But I went to Korea simply because I had an interest in martial arts. In the 70s, 80s, we had a lot of Bruce Lee's movies, Kung Fu movies on TV. And one of my friends asked me to join. And I liked it so much that I started to develop an interest in Asian culture. I also made a pond with koi fish that I had for 15 years. And I started with bonsai. I did all kind of stuff. And I went to Korea more than 25 times before I finally met my wife. So, unfortunately, I had a dream to move to Korea one day, and actually, I never realized that the dream could come true because my parents were sick. My both parents passed away 2011, 2013, and then I finally had the chance to move to Korea. But what can a Belgian guy do in Korea? My wife is actually, she has a Korean roots, but she had a US citizenship, which makes that she actually couldn't do any job, and I also couldn't work. So we filled up a container with all kind of Belgian stuff, and we decided to start a Belgian waffle store. Probably you all know that Belgians are famous for waffles, so that was our initial goal. For people, many people in the West, they don't know about Asia. They don't know about anything about Korea. Korea is actually in size 3 times to the size of Belgium, and only 20% of Korea. 70% are mountains, and we have a population of 52 million people. That means people lived quite packed in the cities. The reason why I tell you that is that we don't have a normal aviculture like we are used in Belgium, for example, or the Netherlands, where people live in big houses with gardens where they can have aviaries. So I also moved into an apartment, and then after 1 year, I found it very difficult to live in an apartment because I grew up on the countryside, and I missed the greenery. Every day I had to come down from the 8th floor to have some fresh air, so I got really, really stressed. So I was thinking, why shouldn't we get to try to find a bird? But finding a bird in Korea was not so easily, especially not the birds that I like, Indian ringnecks. So we tried to find these birds on the Korean market, and it was very, very difficult. Because, first of all, the Korean bird market is very limited. So we tried to visit pet shops to find birds, but they are mostly cats and dogs. We ultimately, after a research of 3-4 months, we found some stores in the area where we lived, in the south part of Korea. And then we found out that actually the birds that are sitting in the cages were all wing-clipped birds. And the condition of the birds was not that fantastic. But after 6 months, I finally found a green Indian ringneck. And I bought a green Indian ringneck for the price of almost $400. You have to know, in Belgium, there are a lot of feral populations. You can catch them for free in the wild. And the normal price from a breeder is like $35. So I paid $400. And actually, this is the reason, this little bird, which is now 10 years old, that's the reason why I'm standing here today. I also found out that there is a huge problem in Korea, and not only in Korea, but in many Asian countries, except Thailand, regarding the stock. Many products that we buy or need for our birds are always out of stock. So we bought another bird. We had 3 birds in the apartment. Place became too small. There were people who asking me, can you help me with importing bird seeds or bird accessories, bird cages? And then I start thinking, why wouldn't we start breeding ourselves? So my wife and I decide to make a plan on bird breeding. But in Korea, most breeders, they breed in greenhouses or they breed in apartments. But that is absolutely something that I didn't want. So we made a plan. Where are we going to start breeding? What kind of species are we going to breed? How big are we going to make our aviaries? And what are our goals? And these were our goals from the beginning. Provide a healthy environment for our birds. I want my birds to enjoy the sunlight and the rain and the snow, whatever they can. That makes them more healthier. I also want to breed and keep and sell quality birds. Most of the birds that I found in the shops, they all had some minor problems, but the biggest problem for me was that the mutations that I saw, the birds were too small. I also wanted to increase the popularity of Indian ringnecks and Alexandrines. My fourth goal was sharing knowledge. I know or I experienced that many people in Korea didn't like to talk about how they breed birds. And the fifth one, that's the most difficult one, is to create a sustainable and profitable business. So in 2015, I was lucky to find a piece of land that was offered to me by my father-in-law. Unfortunately, I had to pay him for it, but 1 hour below Seoul. So it was a rice field and a normal field in a small mountain village. So in 2016, I decided to go back to Belgium and sell our house and use the money to invest in a breeding center. So it took me 1 year and 3 months to sell the house, and then I went back to Korea. When we started, we had some challenges, and one of those challenges was the weather. In Korea, we have 4 distinct seasons. You can say, yeah, there are distinct seasons everywhere, and that's also what I told my wife when we lived in Belgium. But in Belgium, you can have the 4 distinct seasons all in one day. In one day, you can have snow, rain, sun. But in Korea, the climate is more like turning a page. Every season is very stable. But we have very cold winters, sometimes up to -20, and very hot summers up to 38 and 40 degrees. In winter, it's very cold, and in summer, it's very humid. We have a special weather phenomenon in Korea because we are under influence of the weather of Siberia, Vladivostok, which makes that in winter we have like 4 warm days and 3 cold days. 4 warm days and 3 cold days. And after the summer, normally in September, we have some typhoons, but this year we hardly experience typhoons. We also had to consider how to deal with the natural enemies. My first year that we were breeding, I still remember it in November, I suddenly saw 15 black vultures above my aviary. I said, oh my God, what is this? So I did some research and I found out that those vultures, every year they come to hibernate from Mongolia to Korea. And in Korea, close to my place, they feed leftover, what is it, cadavers in English? Cadavers from animals to those vultures. You see them even on the street, so sometimes you have to stop the car. They are not afraid of human being. So we also have a lot of ticks. Ticks are very dangerous, and it's one of the reasons why I don't put any plants around my aviary. We also have some venomous and toxic snakes, tiger keelback. They are very, very venomous. So to stop the problem, we throw all around our aviaries and our property, we throw some vermin. Korea, like I said, has no outdoor culture. So that means in Belgium, we can easily buy wire mesh on a panel and just install it. In Korea, that was not available. So I had to look for all kinds of things to assemble the aviary panels and the aviary by myself. Luckily, since 2022, we see now an increase of people who like to breed outdoors. The most popular species in Korea are conures, monk parakeets, cockatiels, eclectus, amazons, macaws for free flight, and cockatoos. So my birds, they are not so popular That means that we had to import them ourselves. One big challenge is the bird food. Like I said, the bird seeds that we feed or the pellets, they are very often out of stock. The importers, they are not consistent in importing bird food. And I talked this morning also to people from Lager. I had to wait now 7 months for my seeds. That means that I had every time during the peak season, during the breeding season, I have to do the mixing of my own seeds. Also, vegetables and fruit are very expensive. In last year, 2024, the price of one apple was $6. And then another problem is aviculture terminology. There are absolutely no parrot clubs. There are a couple of clubs who focus on free flight. There's also a lack of written sources in Korean, except some books from Mr. Shim, who translated and published some books on it. There's a limited knowledge on genetics, and Korean people used to have or used different names than we do. It's also not mandatory to use leg bands. Most of the birds that you find have no leg bands. Luckily, there is a change. The younger generation is more interested in breeding and genetics. So in 2029, this is how it looks when we started. Actually, I only asked to pour the concrete, and the rest of the aviaries I all started building by myself while my wife was working. This is the first aviary that I made. Luckily in Korea, Korea is the land of sandwich panels. You can find sandwich panels in every thickness, 5, 10, 20, name it, it's there. So that was a big advantage. So this is a breeding aviary that I made for Alexandrines. I use a swivel feeding station for the simple reason that if I use an automatic system, that it will probably freeze in the winter. So every day I have to change the food bowls and the water bowls. I also installed sprinklers. I imported them from India because I couldn't find them on the local market. And very useful is the fake owl that we also use in Europe. We put it on the aviary to avoid having predators attacking our birds. Up till now, it is very successful. This is how the aviary looks like. It faces to the east, and in this breeding flights, the nest boxes are installed inside. We use everywhere a concrete floor. I put 20 centimeters, and that is not even thick enough because since our aviaries are built on a rice field, there might be some water, and every year when it freezes we have some problems, some cracks, but minor cracks. We also do our bird import ourselves. I was very lucky that the day when I shipped them, we had an outbreak of AI, and we couldn't import for 3 years from Europe. During the COVID, there was a very good time to build a second aviary. So we actually made an aviary where our birds can stay inside and outside. We choose to have like a combination of European style aviaries and Australian style. So we elevated the outside to prevent from snakes climbing in. And we also provide gates where the birds fly in wintertime, and then every evening I just lock the gates. Here we had to make our own swivel system because we couldn't import at that moment. There were no flights during the COVID, so there was a little bit of a problem. This one is facing to the south. Sandwich panels are here 10 and 5. The reason why I say that, in the Alexandrine, The balls, they freeze at -9, and in this one, -14. This is how winter looks like. We have average, the last 5 winters, we have 6 to 7, 8 times snow in 2 months. We also start breeding or making a small kitchen and nursery for our birds, where we can hand rear our birds. This is our Jindo dog, Jindoke. It's a Korean dog. He's very good at catching rats. In 2021, we built a 3rd aviary, also in the same style like the first one. And those are our birds. Like I said, we breed Indian ringneck parakeets and Alexandrine parakeets. They are part of the Parakeets of India family. I have to go a little bit faster because otherwise we're going to lose too much time and we will not end on time. So why did we choose Indian ringnecks and Alexandrines? First of all, for their beautiful appearance, and they are very strong flyers. They are very intelligent. They have an ability to adapt well to the situation. And of course, because of the unique mutations, especially the clear tail mutation combined with opaline and other mutations, they are very pretty and very successful at this moment. Also, the lack of interest in these birds made me choose for this species because I want to give those birds the credit that they deserve. And then, not to forget, probably it's the oldest bird in Western aviculture. It is believed that the birds were brought back by Alexander the Great. And Alexander the Great, he inherited the kingdom from his father, and his father had the wish to conquer an empire that actually was as big as possible. So when he started a war right after his father passed away, it took him 10 years almost to get to the north part of India and Nepal. After 10 years, his soldiers, they didn't want to fight anymore. They were tired, so they decided to go back towards Macedonia, the small kingdom of Greece. And then it's believed that they brought back, in that time, the first birds to Greece, from where they spread actually later on to Rome and Egypt. What you see here on the right side is a mosaic that was found in Pergamum, which is now Turkey, and currently this is held in the Museum of Berlin. That is a picture of an Alexandrine parakeet. And left on top, there is a ring, a golden ring that was sold on auction last year. It was discovered not that long ago. It was sold for $42,000. We know from writings from Korean, from Latin and Greek poets that actually those birds were trained by slaves. Slaves were used to train the birds to speak, so they had to stand in front of the cage all day to learn the bird new words. During the medieval times in Europe, the Indian ringneck was a religious symbol, probably because of the ability to speak. This is a painting from a very famous Belgian painter. Indian ringnecks, I don't think we still have to introduce them, but what you have to know is that they are dimorphic, so there's a difference. You can see the difference between males and females by the ring. They have a lifespan from approximately 25 years. And I can tell you, my friend, he had an albino that bred up to the age of 27 and died after giving birth to seven birds. The Alexandrine parakeet is much bigger and has a red-maroon patch on the wings. There are 5 subspecies of them, and actually what I used in my aviary are mostly the Nipalensis. There are many feral populations of Indian ringnecks all over the world. They are widespread over Australia, Europe, the US, even in Japan. And probably they are released from captivity. So they are in high concentrations in cities because it's easy for them to find food over there. They are also considered as invasive species because they cause a lot of economical damage. So they eat the apples from the farmers and then they can't sell them anymore. And also they try to find breeding occasions in cavities. So they chase out the domestic birds. In 1996, the first pair in the wild was seen in Belgium. And in 1974, the director of Belgian Adventurers Park, he released about 45 ringnecks. And that is probably the reason why at this moment we have more than 30,000 Indian ringneck and Alexandrine parakeets in Brussels. In the Netherlands, they did a test about 10 years ago about, they counted the birds and they also found out by using tags with a zip tie around the neck, which you can see right on the top. They found out that those birds, they commute, that they fly a lot and that they commute for breeding, foraging and roosting. And they cover a distance from up to 20 to 27 kilometers a day. Also there, in 2 years' time, the population doubled. The breeding season from the Indian ringneck and the Alexandrine is around January to April. The Alexandrines, they normally start a little bit earlier. And most of the time, it's the female that prepares the nest. They are excellent for breeding mutations because they are absolutely not bonded for a lifetime. In our aviary, we change the couples every year. After breeding season, we separate the males and the females in big cages, and then some months later, we put them back together. They have very colorful and unique mutations. There are endless possibilities. I think there are around 200 combinations at this moment already from birds. And one of the reasons why I do mutations, because it stimulates your brain. When you get older, you have to prevent from getting Alzheimer. So thinking about the mutations is a very good solution for that. How to manage the 4 seasons in Korea? Like I said before, we have 4 distant seasons. This is an overview from Korea's climate that I made. So in January, we have a lot of snow. Then we have a period with Asian dust, a monsoon season, a very hot summer, followed by a mild autumn at this moment, and then winter again. This was last year. We had the heaviest snowfall since recording 1907. In one night, we had 46 centimeters of snow. When I was standing outside, I heard the branches of the pine trees cracking and completely falling down on the floor with a pack of snow on it. Luckily, we had no damage to our aviaries. Here you see our birds in the snow, and this is in the middle. You see a couple of Indian ringneck that I posted on Instagram, and Tony Silva asked me to share it. 9 o'clock in the morning, -9, and they are mating. So if you are worried about cold weather, if you see this, you don't need to hesitate anymore, I think. In wintertime, we covered this aviary. In 2021, we had the coldest winter in the last 35 years. We had 5 consecutive nights with -21. The biggest issue that we can have when it freezes, when it's that cold, that is birds freezing the toes. So how we solve the problem is by installing a perch inside at the highest position. For the Alexandrines, we use an aluminium pipe, and for the ringnecks, PVC one. And inside we install electric wire from 15 watt per meter. It doesn't cost much, and it has a nice temperature for the birds. And up till now, actually, we never had issues. In 6 years' time, I had only 2 babies who had some, frostbite on the toes, so we had to burn it, to stop it. Because the babies, in the beginning, when they are young, they try to attach themselves or to climb into the highest place on the wire mesh, and then they like to stay there overnight. But once they become an adult, they don't do that anymore. Then what do we feed? We feed an all-round mixture from Versillelaga Prestige big parakeets. And sometimes we add some garlic oil there, combined with Be Pure. It's very good for their digestion and their blood flow. During winter season, we have to increase, or we start the preparation for the breeding season. And I had many people coming from Korea to me, and they all said, why do my birds breed so bad? I have 100 eggs and only 5 babies. So we had to teach them that birds breed simply because they want to survive. They want to reproduce chicks. So in that case, we also have to simulate the nature, and we actually have to provide an abundance of food. So we do that by giving extra soft food in January 2 times a week, and from February 3 times a week. Soft food, I think yesterday we heard during the lectures already the benefits from giving vegetables, so I'm going to skip that. But I want to mention we feed a lot of Chinese cabbage because it's very rich in fibers. The veggies and fruits, we always make it just the size so that they can take the food in their food, yeah, so that they can experience some more motoric skills. We're also gonna use egg food. I use the crumble normally, and we're gonna use the Liège mix, which is actually used for pigeons. We soak that, and we soak it so that the sprouts are only 1 or 2 meters long. After we mix that, we're gonna add OptiBreed and Fertivit. Like Matt said, this is the bird Viagra, but I would not recommend it to take it by yourself, just only give it to the birds. 1 milligram per 100 gram, and OptiBreed 5 milligram per 100 gram. Fertivit, you have to give it until when the bird couple, when the hen lays the first egg, then you have to stop giving Fertivit. We also make our own nest boxes. We install them the first week of March every year, same. And we fill all the boxes, not with shavings, but I use decayed rotten wood that I found in the forest. Most of them is pine tree, rotten pine tree. And I combine that with black natural soil. I make that very wet. I add water simply because it is very, very dry. We have like 30% humidity at that time. And we also keep a breeding administration on every box. we write down the couples, the age of the birds, and every day we check the nest boxes. So we have the same routine. We always knock on the nest box so to see if or to inform that the couple that we are opening the box so that they can get used to it. Our Alexandrines are actually wonderful breeding pairs. You see that they are ready because on March 1st I always install the boxes and they are very punctually in laying eggs. Within the first 10 days we have the first egg in every box. When they are babies, we do regular nest checkups. We check the crop, if the parents feed well, see if the birds are not dehydrated. We also check for splayed legs. And of course, as a mutation breeder, I have to check the color of the eyes, the color of the feet and the nails. And we give soft food 3 times in the morning, fresh, at 6 a.m., 9 a.m. and 12 a.m. every day. In the evening, they get seeds. All our birds are also ringed. We use the colors as used by the World Federation. For the ringneck 6.5 millimeter, and for Alexandrines 8 millimeter. But I noticed over the last years that our birds getting bigger, and that the 8 millimeter is actually too small for Alexandrines. So from now on, we are using 9 millimeter. When the birds are between 15 and 21 days, we take the whole clutch out and we start hand feeding. So we start from 4 times and we are going to 3 times, 2 times, 1 times until they are weaned. And I always feed 821 because that's the best formula to feed. Don't use 819. There is too much fat in there for the ringnecks. And I always feed at a temperature from 39 degrees. If you feed at 39 degrees, you never have any issues. We also have to check the weight and then not unimportant socializing. The most of my customers, 80% of them are single women above 30. And they all want a pet bird. So for that reason, I have to hand raise about 100 birds a year. So I raise them from week 2 or 3 until they are fully weaned. I wean them with all kind of food, but I mainly use pellets. The G14 is an excellent maintenance food. In the beginning, I soak them in the water, and for like 10 seconds when they are very young, and when they grow up, I soak them less long. So in the beginning, like 10 minutes, and after a couple of weeks, only 1 or 2 minutes until they can eat the hard pellets. After the breeding season, we put our Alexandrines in a flight cage from 6 meters so that they can strengthen their muscles again. This is summer. Summer can be is very humid, and we had also a lot of rain during monsoon season. In 2022, half of my village had to be evacuated, and I had to park my car 300 meters away from our breeding facility simply because the river that flows next to our house overflowed and caused a lot of damage. So every day it was a very big task to go to my own breeding center and feed the birds. We collect all the feathers, the tail feathers, to check the mutations, and we also use that to educate people about mutations. During the molting season, we provide also soft food with a lot of cucumbers. There are many people who know the benefits from cucumbers when they put it on their face, so it's also very good for birds. And we're going to add Mutavit, which actually strengthens the plumage and improves the feather condition of the birds. There's also biotin included, so this is a very good product that I use. I'm a big fan of red chili peppers. I told Tony before, I'm living 10 years in Korea. I've been sick only 2 times with COVID, but I never had any flu. And one of the reasons, I believe, is eating a lot of garlic and a lot of chili peppers. In Europe, at least in Belgium, the breeders that I know, they used Tanaketum vulgare, which is a very bittersweet herb that grows next to the rivers. In America, it's called tansy, and it keeps away the lice in the aviary. And some people, they say it also works for worms. Actually, I never dewormed my birds so far. This is the rest period, October, November, December, which we are currently in. This is the period that we have time to share our knowledge during seminars. 2023, we had the first seminar with Versililaga in Korea. Dr. Patrick Geisels was there to give a very interesting lecture about bird disease. And as you can see on the picture, there are many young people. Like mentioned before, in Belgium, Europe, America, everywhere we see aviculture declining because there is no follow-up. But not in Asia, also not in Korea. We also have people from a school program who come to us. We have a director of an alternative school. So kids who don't like to go to school, they go to this school, and this teacher introduced them to all kind of jobs. And every year she brings me students who are interested in breeding birds. We also come regularly to Thailand for the Indian ringneck contest. And when we have time in the past, we had some tours with Dr. Patrick Geisels, which I'm very thankful for. We also do all-round maintenance. We have to install new perches. Most of the time we use chestnut because there are a lot of chestnut trees around our house. We clean with F10. And actually, we also prepare a lot of wood. We cut a lot of wood to make toys, to stimulate activity. Birds, you have to keep them busy, especially Alexandrines, they like to chew a lot. Enrichment is very important for birds not to get bored so that they stop plucking. I also use the mineral block there. And then in October, we start the pairing of new couples. It's always risky. You have to know your birds well, which one you can put together, and you have to absorb them very well. What I normally do when I put 2 new couples in a cage, I give them one long branch so that they can chew each on one end of them, and then they come closer and closer together, and at the end there is only 10 centimeters left, and then by that time they will not fight anymore. During the rest season, we still provide some soft food once a week. And in this period, we use Omnivit and Calciulux. This is an overview from all the supplements that I use during the season. This program that we use gives us actually 95% positive outcome for our birds. So we are almost at the end. Did we achieve our goals? I think you can find out for yourself what we did so far, what I showed you. So we provide a healthy environment for our birds. The last one, I put a question mark. We are still working on it. We are busy now for almost 6 years. We had some bad luck with COVID and with AI, with importing birds, but we are still manage it to make an income with 30 couples. It's possible. We don't need to breed a mass of birds. We just try to breed birds that the people like and that they like to spend money on. Yeah. So, and if we can't make a sustainable, profitable business, remember the container. I still have waffle iron. I can still start a Belgian waffle store. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your attention.